Hello. Welcome in, everyone. Excited to have you all back with us here today on this. What day is it, Adam? It's a Tuesday. Is it? No. Wednesday.
Oh my goodness.
Look
really?
at me. We're already starting it off like this. I'm in Vegas for drafts. I'm pumped, Adam. You should just show up. I don't know why you don't just jump on a plane right now. Come on down. It'll be fun. How you doing? Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Sorry to freak everyone out.
I was asked to come to Vegas, and I really wanted to. And then I looked at the calendar, and it would have been really tight because I need to be here Saturday for our Greenwich Street Tavern League. I mean, I am the commissioner after all.
You
so
are.
It's
you
something
are.
that I can't miss.
I mean, you could have left Friday. I'm leaving Friday.
Yeah. Well,
you should come right now.
a lot shorter than mine.
Well, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
We are up and then you're down. I was like, heck yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, more
we'll
like
be thinking about
5.5 for me.
Gosh, really?
Yeah,
I forget.
Faster coming back, but yeah.
Well, that's
okay. I've been
okay.
to Vegas for a few years.
Oh man, it's fun. We're staying at Circa. Shout out to Circa for everything they're doing for us. But I'm in the Circa Women's Series, and then you've got Play FFWC this week as well. So they've got a lot going on. I'll make sure to tweet out as many photos, videos as I can at Valenzuela 17 if you guys want to give me a follow. But yeah, shout out Circa's amazing. They've got that huge pool, Adam. That's where I drafted a month ago for Scott Fish. I mean, it's just amazing out there.
You had to go back.
It's so good you had to go back. It has only been a month, by the way. I can't believe it's August 20th, too. I was looking at the date this morning. I was like, wow, already? I can't believe it.
I have actually a draft on Play FFWC tonight, a Beat Adam Ronis League. So if you want to hop in there, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
8-7-6-5 5:30. Ooh, I might. Yeah. Can you tweet it out for the good people?
Yeah, I did earlier, right before the show.
Okay, I'll retweet it. Maybe I'll join you there. Is this your last one? Do you think you're going to do one more?
No, I'll probably do another one, I think.
Okay.
I always say, like, all right, I'm done. And then what happens is it's Labor Day weekend, the week of the draft, and you're like, oh, should I do one more? Because last year, if you remember, I did one the Saturday after the Thursday and Friday games.
Yep.
A lot of the value is gone by then. Like, again, I like doing these early drafts. I went back and looked at a couple, and I was like, damn, I got these guys at nice value. I felt good. I'm telling you, I know it's tough because everyone wants to do their draft as close to the season as possible due to potential injuries. But if you are someone that plays in 5 to 10 leagues, and I know a lot of people listening do, you got to get a couple in early August, especially if you're listening to this channel. You're on Fantasy Life. I mean, these guys have been crushing it since all off season, and a lot of the players that we've been talking up have moved up. So you could really get some great drafts done early. So I know it's kind of too late now because it's August 20th, but for next year,
never too late.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could draft now, but you already know, like, so many of the players have moved and gone up, and the value is gone. Guys that we were scooping up, 8th, 9th, 10th rounds have moved up.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good, though, to get some of those drafts done, late July, early August, if you're a volume drafter.
Yeah, I agree. And your article, by the way, if people are drafting on ESPN, that's out now, right? FantasyLife.com. We're going to talk about it, but it just feels like if you're doing any kind of draft on ESPN, go to fantasylife.com because Adam has a great article out today that you can go check out. We'll make sure to tweet it. Ian has written some good stuff over there. But talk about maybe the only place, Adam, if you're drafting late and it's on ESPN, you could still find good values there. We're going to talk about it here in the next segment, but it's actually mind-blowing that you can have a serious leg up if you're listening to us, if you're going to fantasylife.com, because some of those ADPs, they still don't make sense, but you're going to take advantage of it. That's the key.
Oh my goodness. It's insane. Like, I could have written 100,000 words. That's how many crazy disparities there are in the Fantasy Life rankings in ESPN. There are some players that are absolutely buried at the bottom. And yeah, you guys are winning championships. So I'm jealous because I don't have any leagues on ESPN. I guess maybe I should move my home league there.
Yes. We should do GST. We should do a side one on ESPN just in case.
Like, see, I don't think it would matter. I don't think that would really.
Well, that's true because everyone is so sharp.
They're pretty sharp, yeah. I mean, there's a couple people in there that might not be as sharp. Look, let's be honest. I mean, come on. You know that. There are people in leagues where they're like, yeah, these guys are not that good.
I only say that about my home league. Hope you guys are listening. Yeah, because you guys, they stink.
But look, what we said, is your home league as wild too, where it's just unpredictable?
Yes. It's college buddies that we've been going on for years and years, for this league. And I tell you every time, that is the hardest draft that I do every single year, because you just in the drafts that you and I do, when I go into, some other drafts, I kind of know what the landscape is. I know when I should draft an Emeka Egbuka because I know he's not going to come back to me. I know when to draft a Travion Henderson. In my home league, I never know what's going to happen because it's just kind of like shooting from the hip, and you're like, okay, well, this is how they're going to do it. So I'm telling you, and I love them, and it's one of the hardest. It is really one of the hardest drafts I do because it's at the end of it's my last draft, Adam. So you go the whole off season and the whole last couple of months, and you think you know everything that's going on, and then they just throw you, through a loop. It's crazy.
So do you just draft off your rankings? Do you adjust based on right? It's
I draft off my rank because half of them it's not even one where they won't follow the board either. So if there's a run, or it looks like there's going to start to be a run on running backs, it's just they'll go a different direction. Every single person has a different draft strategy, and they don't allow, I think that's what freaks me out, is that they don't allow the board to like dictate their next pick. And so it's really, I'm telling you, it's wild out there. I'll send you the draft board once we're done, because it's just, you never know what's happening. But I do go off my rankings and tiers. This is why I always say it's so important to me. I'll make sure to have my tiers out, not printed like you. I don't go to the library, but shout out to the local library if you guys want to go get your stuff printed. But I'll make sure to have them up and just ready to go at any point, and making sure that I have our ADP tool up. That's honestly helped me a lot this offseason. I can't say enough good things about it, and I know you guys have heard us talk about it before, but that also helps me where if I'm not, you don't want to panic scroll right down the ADP list. You do want to add guys to your queue, but sometimes it's also nice just to have that ADP tool up to know who could be coming up in the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, for sure. And again, just know the platform. I think sometimes people make a mistake. Maybe it's the first time during this season they're drafting on the platform. They just go in and then, oh, wow, I can't believe this guy's ranked 386th. I didn't see him. So it's very important to go in there, explore it, and again, use that ADP tool, because you can see the differences, and maybe you'll find someone way at the bottom that you weren't aware of. Again, just come in with a plan and just come in with what's comfortable. Some people use draft software. Again, I'm old school. I print out my rankings and cross names off. It's just what works for me. That's what I'll be doing tonight. That's what I'll be doing at the GST. It works best for me. I know I'm not going to miss anyone. This way, because if you just go by the queue, you're just looking at names. This way, if I'm looking at my sheet, I look at the queue, I go, oh, wow, this guy's not here. Why? I put it in the search. Oh, wow, he's 386. Throw him in the queue, so this way I know, get ready to draft him soon.
Exactly. And we've got the mock draft simulator too. I've used that more than I ever have this season as well, because I've gotten into some, weird leagues scoring settings. And so I've said, okay, if I'm picking at the back half of this draft, which I usually am, Adam, it's fine. We're going to hopefully get out of that this week. If I get pick 10, 11, or 12 this week, I'm going to scream for this women's league. I really will.
Yeah,
I want something different.
I was going to say it's not the worst. I actually like picking in that area, but you have had that pick a lot. But at least with me and the charity league, we have pick 3.
That's true. And our team is looking so good, by the way.
It is, yeah.
It is looking great. It's a slow draft. I know. So I had a couple people, our friend, Adam Rank, asked about our draft. I said it's a slow draft, so we'll give updates on the CBS. That's the charity league, and so shout out to anyone that's listening that's in that one. But yeah, the ADP tool is a must, and the mock draft simulator. If you're not able to get into some of those underdog drafts or anything like that, don't want to put money down, just go to the mock draft simulator, fantasylife.com, and you can use it and put your scoring settings in, put where your league is drafting, ESPN, Yahoo, whatever it may be, and make sure to get some practice in. So it'll be good. I'll let you know today. I will know where I'm drafting from, Adam. So if I don't show up tomorrow, you're going to know why. I'm just going to take the day off. I need a mental day. All right, let's get into some pieces of news here and then continue on. Like I said, we're going to go through ESPN. You wrote a great article at fantasylife.com just talking through some of the ways that you can draft on ESPN, get ahead of your league mates. I did want to mention just a couple housekeeping items. The Saints, we haven't talked about them in a little while, but they have yet to make a call. I think we know that on their starting quarterback. It looks like they are saying the decision is coming down to the wire. We've got 3 days of practice and a game against the Denver Broncos. We've got some excellent work coming our way. That was from Kellen Moore. The competition, he also said, is between who we know, Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler. he said that it's been very close between the two of them. So, Adam, we have to have a decision before September 7th because that's their first game. I think my biggest question here, though, is we've talked a little bit about the Saints, but it's just one of those teams this season that feels like they're going to be an uphill battle the whole season. It's probably not going to be that good of an offense. And so when that happens, we have to look at some of their offensive playmakers like Alvin Kamara, like Rashid Shaheed, like Chris Olave, and say to ourselves, do we really want to draft them where they're going? Whatever their ADP is, do we really want to take them? And I think that question for me to you is mainly Chris Olave. Like what we're doing with him, he's got the 4 noted concussions that we know of since 2022. So you've got one side of it where it is the concussions. The other side, though, Adam, is that he's shown wide receiver 1 traits. Like this is a guy, get him a good quarterback, and it feels like for fantasy football, over the last couple of seasons, that's how we've been drafting him too. It would be like a steal. Last season, he was going in the 2nd round of drafts. So he's shown us, wide receiver 1 traits. He's got around 7, I want to say, last I checked, ADP. But with no knowledge of who the starting quarterback could be, I feel like it's going to be Tyler Shuck, but you never know. Things can change. Are you just ultimately staying away from this offense?
I don't think you can do that because of the prices. Now, I don't have a lot of Olave. I am open to drafting him, but it feels like in the range he goes, I either have enough receivers at that point where I'm looking at another position, or I have some other receivers higher. I do have some Rashid Shaheed, I think I took him in my last beat Adam Ronis league.
Nice.
And he was around a wide receiver 52. So I'm definitely going to take the chance at that price where it's a guy that's going to be on the bench. So yeah, I think really this quarterback competition, it really comes down to, do these quarterbacks just get the ball in the hands of the receivers that we have? Those are primarily the 2 guys you see drafted at the wide receiver position. Obviously, Kamara at running back. And that's pretty much it for most leagues, right? Unless you're in a really deep league or tight end premium, those are the only guys that are being drafted. I will say Kendre Miller, I thought looked really good in that preseason game. He was breaking a lot of tackles. But again, if you're in a league with 16 rounds, he's probably not going to be drafted there. In a league with 20, he is. So, I have taken him very late too. But yeah, I'm still open to drafting Olave and Shaheed. It really just depends on my roster construction at that point, but I'm not crossing them off the board. I think we've seen this happen before where a lot of people are like, this offense is going to be terrible, I'm staying away. And then it turns out to be not as bad as we thought.
And at the end of the day, Olave, I mean, like I said, we were taking him in the 2nd round last season. Like, we know he is talented. And so, yes, the quarterback situation might not be the best, but when we look at talented players like Chris Olave, I believe he offers wide receiver 2 upside if you really look at it, if things run really pure for this team, because of the targets, the potential targets that he's going to get peppered with. I can look at what we have projected for him, but he goes pick 101 on ESPN. He goes 119 on CBS, and then you've got 82, 73 on Yahoo and Sleeper. So I agree with you. I've taken him a couple times, but I've made sure that my wide receiver group is kind of shored up. It looks really good. And then I'm comfortable taking him and making sure that I've got potentially other options. We never want injuries, but we've seen what's happened to him over the past couple of seasons. So you just have to be prepared for that. And I agree with you on Kendrick. Well, we haven't seen him because the coaching staff before hated him. Legitimately. I'm not trying to be dramatic at him, but it feels like they just did not like him. Remember when there was a rumor that he was on IR with no injury?
Yeah.
And they just put him on there. So the other thing, again, you said it, you probably don't have to draft him. He could be on waivers. I could see us talking about him a little bit later. But the other part is if this team really does start to lose down the stretch, we've talked about Alvin Kamara and his utilization, his usage, if they get there, because he's another year older, an older running back. So they won't want to run him into the ground if they're just going to continue to lose. So again, you don't have to necessarily draft Kendre Miller, but someone on waivers I could see that we talk about later on. Could be fun.
Yeah, and I do think in leagues with 18 to 20 rounds, he will be drafted. I mean, there's just deeper formats, and you're looking to take a chance on any backup running back, put them on your bench. You just have a deeper reserve list where, again, in a 16-team league, you just don't really have the roster space, and he's not towards the upper half of those running back handcuffs. So in that scenario, he'll probably be on waivers, but I definitely think in a league with 20 rounds, he's someone to consider in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, I agree. The last one that I definitely wanted to hit on here, and it's more, we can talk more about this in the water cooler, but I've seen reports this morning, so I just want to put it out there that there was a report from Tom Pelissero that with Jordan Addison suspended, this is the tweet, and multiple injuries, the Vikings are seriously exploring veteran receivers in the trade market per sources. We talked about Justin Jefferson being back at practice this week, which is great. He was dealing with that hamstring injury. There was also a tweet just like right after this, Adam, from Diana Rossini saying the Jets are also among several teams monitoring the trade market for potential wide receiver additions. We know everything that's going on with them and their injuries. She also said that the 49ers and the Vikings are also making calls. So just something to look for. I don't know if there could be someone, unless it's a Tyreek Hill, which we don't think is going to happen, someone that could be moved that makes crazy huge waves, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling is available from the Seahawks if you think they want him. It also makes me, let me just say this, because I've said Jalen Naylor's name on this show before. It makes me believe that injury, he's week to week with a hand injury. It makes me believe that that's probably a little bit worse than they anticipated, or it's bad and they knew it and they need to go out there and get some help because they're going to be without Jordan Addison for the first 3 games of the season. I said Jalen Naylor would probably be the next guy up, but again, he's injured. So looking like 3 teams right now, maybe before cut down day, trying to get some kind of receiver help.
Yeah, the Vikings, again, the Addison suspension, that's probably one of the reasons why we were expecting Naylor to come in there and fill the void. And looks like you said, it does appear to be worse. So we'll see what they do.
Tyreek Hill?
Adam Thielen? Adam Thielen? Back to his,
a return?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Like
do the Panthers even want to trade him? I don't know.
Well, Hunter Renfro's had a pretty good camp,
he
right?
Has, yeah.
Yeah, so if Hunter Renfro's had a good camp, I don't know if they want to, necessarily give up weapons or, quote unquote weapons for Bryce Young. But if Hunter Renfro's had that good of a camp, maybe they say yes. MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah, you're quick to get rid of him, huh?
Well, Torrey Horton's also had a good camp,
That's
so
true.
I told someone yesterday, I said, don't let MVS stand in the way of you drafting Torrey Horton. Just don't allow it to happen. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be wrong. But I don't know, Adam. I feel like I'm not going to be wrong about Marquez. I feel like we know what we get with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. It's fine.
Yeah, Horton obviously has moved up because of his training camp and preseason. Has he gone in leagues though with 16 rounds?
I've seen him
maybe the
once.
last couple of rounds he's moving in there.
I've seen him once, which again, you just have to know your league size and your your bench depth, because you're right. He's probably a guy that a lot of the time will go undrafted and you can pick him up off waivers.
Yeah, I think, and then with 20 rounds, he's definitely going. I know that.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So a little bit of news there. We'll continue monitoring all the news from training camp that you absolutely need to know, and we'll continue breaking that down. We've got a great show for you today. As always, fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription when you're there at checkout, SXM20. Let's go through those ESPN value picks here, Adam. We've got the best values in every round. We're going to be going through your article as well. We're going to do that here coming up next. Fantasy football is life. We are right here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you for the next couple of hours at KValenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you've got any questions for us, you want to send us screenshots. I love seeing the screenshots of teams, Adam. You can send them over there at KValenzuela17, at Adam Ronis. It's a great day because we're going through the ESPN values. And you wrote an awesome article that everyone should go and check out. Absolutely everyone should go and check this one out. Again, fantasylife.com. You can use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription when we're looking at it. But what is really, we say this a lot, and we say if you're drafting on ESPN, jokingly, we say you should be absolutely dominating. But there is a little bit of truth to it, Adam, because of how different these ADP values are compared to Sleeper, compared to Yahoo, compared to really every other platform. So what was one of your biggest takeaways, I should say, when you were writing this article?
Yeah, you should dominate on ESPN. I mean, it's insane. Like I said, I could have written a lot more, but we know that people don't like reading huge articles. So I tried to break it down and gave 10. One of the ones that's really egregious is Jordan Mason. So the Fantasy Life ranking has him at 79, and the ESPN ADP is 140.6. And we've talked about it. He's going to play a bigger role than maybe some anticipate, unless you've been following this. We've heard Kevin O'Connell say it's 1A, 1B with him and Aaron Jones, and it makes sense. They traded for Jordan Mason. They gave him $7 million guaranteed. Aaron Jones is 30, turns 31 in December. He's coming off the biggest workload of his career, and we saw down the stretch he wasn't as good. So it makes sense. And also, especially earlier in the year, and it goes back to what we were talking about in the previous segment, where the Vikings are looking for some wide receiver help. You could see them be run heavy early in the year, and that would bode well for Jordan Mason. So yeah, that's just that is a 61 pick difference.
Insane.
I mean, that's So the key is, though, that this is the trouble I always have with, right? Say I was drafting on ESPN and I had a league on there. Mm-hmm. What if 3-4 of the people are as sharp or up on the rankings like we are? Then, okay, where do you draft them? Because you're obviously not going to wait till 140 because someone could take him before. But do you wait to 100? That's always the challenging part, especially if you don't know all your league mates. If it is a league where then okay, 3 of the guys, 4 guys are really sharp. They're on top of things. So that's the challenge, because you don't want to wait till 140, obviously, because we know it's a misprice. So that's where you have to decide, like, do you go 8th round? Do you go 9th, 10th, 11th? That's always the key. I kind of just say, you know what? I have my rankings, and I'm going to go with it. And if it's several rounds higher, I'll just deal with it, because I don't want to. If I feel that's the best value at the time that fits my team and my roster construction, I don't want to lose that player and play chicken and be like, oh, I could wait another round and then someone else takes them.
I'd be even comfortable like 95, to be totally honest with you. 95 to 100, I'd be pretty comfortable, because it's obviously a misprice in what we believe that Jordan Mason could bring to this team in 2025. So if you're with us and you believe that, then we always say this, but ADP is a guide, and this is not just for ESPN. This is across any platform. ADP is just a guide. It is the consensus of where people have been taking these players. So it is the consensus of every draft that's been going on ESPN, Sleeper, Yahoo, and that's where we get an average draft position. So when you look at it, use it as a guide. But to me, Adam, I think the best leagues that I've played in, the best teams that I've had, are when I kind of semi-throw ADP out the window and I go get my guys and I don't wait. Because if you're letting ADP dictate your draft, sometimes you're going to look at your team maybe and say, wow, I really don't like this, or I don't believe in this guy, but he's at the top of the queue. I want to make sure that, if this guy's at the top of the queue, that I take him so that, I look like I know what I'm doing. No, throw it away. Go with your gut. First of all, go with the rankings that you have printed in tiers more specifically, and just use it as a guide. So with Jordan Mason, like, go and pick, what do you say, 140? Yeah, I'd be way comfortable. 95, 100. If your league mates give you crap, just send him a screenshot mid-November when he eventually becomes the overall RB1 on that team. But the crazier part is that Aaron Jones is going to pick 80. I mean, and I get it. I'm still open to drafting Aaron Jones, but at that point, when we're talking about both these guys being a 1A, 1B, sometimes you have to look, and I just like the value pick, and that's Jordan Mason on this team.
Yeah, I just don't think the gap should be that wide between those two. They should be going much closer together.
I agree 100%. And the thing, let me ask you this, because again, this article is live at fantasylife.com. If you're playing on ESPN, this is important, because we know you're going to dominate based on some of these ADPs. But what I noticed too is that more and more the running back position goes early in this kind of format on ESPN. Again, it just depends on who you're drafting with. It won't happen every time, because when I was looking through some potential values, I found a ton of receivers. So it makes me believe in myself. When I go into an ESPN draft, I might say to myself, okay, maybe I am comfortable taking 1 or 2 even running backs in the first 4 or 5 rounds, because you have so much value at the receiver position late as well, including guys like Jordan Mason when we're talking about late round running backs. But that's kind of something that I saw too, Adam, where these running backs tend to go a little bit earlier in ESPN. Again, it depends on your league mates. They could decide to do something different, but there's good value in receivers later on in these drafts on ESPN too.
Yeah, that's probably why, is that the running backs are going so much higher, because I see a lot of receivers. And again, we are used to playing on underdog, where receivers get pushed up crazy high, like the FFWC, where you start 3 receivers and 2 flexes, the NFFC, where you start 3 receivers. So in these leagues where you're starting 3 receivers, they get pushed up because it does get pretty thin, like after wide receiver 40-ish. Like you start to be like, oh, I don't want this guy in my starting lineup. So it's important to get some of those receivers early. But on ESPN, you do see running backs go a lot higher. So, you can adjust knowing like, hey, more than likely I'm going to get some really good receiver values. So you can take 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds there.
Yeah, because I mean, I look at Omarion Hampton goes around pick 47 last time I checked. Lad McConkey, ADP on there is around 30, and we have him as a fantasy life rank of 20. And so when we're talking about value, Xavier Worthy is another one where maybe he catches up now, Adam, but I'm still unsure if he does because we just don't know what's going to happen with that Rashee Rice suspension. We know that he has a meeting in New York on the 30th of September, so there's potential that he plays the first 4 weeks. We've also heard reports that they could, find a settlement and then he's out the first 4 weeks. We have no idea what's going on there, but some of these receivers like a Lad McConkey is one that I saw, a Xavier Worthy, DeVonta Smith, I feel like this happens every single year when we talk about him, but DeVonta Smith, and now he's I think he was held out of practice yesterday with an injury, but we have a fantasy life rank of him at 49, and he goes around pick 71 on ESPN.
Yeah, so with Smith, like, he's not a guy that I have in a lot of leagues, and it's not because I don't want him, but I do think he's getting mispriced. It's because the Eagles' offense last year, they had 25.7 pass attempts per game. We know how great the running game is, and they had a lot of blowouts, and they were up late. Smith played in 13 games, still had 833 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he had 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons before last year, and he would have gotten 1,000 yards if he didn't miss 4 games. He was still 16th in points per game at wide receiver in PPR formats, and he's been top 20 in 3 straight seasons in points per game. So the Eagles offense, where the ball is going. It's Smith, Brown. Goddard gets mixed in, but he really needs an injury to one of the receivers to be a consistent performer. But you're talking the ADP of 70.3 on ESPN. I mean, and again, I expect the Eagles to be in more competitive games. I don't think they're going to have as many blowouts. So that would lead to more passing opportunities, and all you need is a slight uptick, and he's easily going to pay off that ADP of 70. And it's crazy.
It almost feels, nothing's ever certain in the NFL, and we always get some things wrong. But doesn't it almost feel like for the Eagles this season, they're going to have to pass more? I mean, they had a league low 48% dropback rate last season. So when we look at it, of course, DeVonta Smith there's a conversation that he's obviously a wide receiver 1 in an offense without A.J. Brown, an offense that throws the ball more. But for me, when I look at this team, and we've said this, Adam, before, because we've talked about this with Saquon Barkley and what we expect his workload to be. But when you see, the schedule that they have this season and everything else that goes with it, it does feel like they're going to have to rely a little bit more on Jalen Hurts and throw the ball more.
Yeah, I mean, you go through the season that they had deep into the playoffs, and again, everything just worked out for them, and it made sense for them to run like they did. Barkley was running wild, Jalen Hurts, but we all know that's just not going to repeat. So you don't even need a huge uptick in passing for these guys to be even better. We talked about the lack of pass attempts last year, slightly over 25, and these guys still put up numbers on a points per game basis. It was really the second half where they just had these leads, and because I had A.J. Brown, and it was like, all right, he's at 4 for 68 and a touchdown at halftime, and he'd finish 5 for 75 with a touchdown, like at 1 catch in the second half because they were up so big and having so much success on the ground. There was it felt like too, there was a lot of drives, like 8-9 minute drives where they were just milking the clock, and a lot of it was due to the run. So yeah, they're definitely going to pass more, be in more competitive games, and it's going to help Smith and A.J. Brown. I know both guys are dealing with injury right now because I've seen A.J. Brown now start to go late second round.
Yeah.
He was running on the side yesterday. They do play, though, 2 weeks from tomorrow against the Cowboys. So I haven't downgraded him yet. I'll take him late second round.
Let me just throw out a couple more value picks because now we're going a little bit later. So I saw round 7, and I'm curious, again, we've talked a lot about Tyreek Hill, but what about Jalen Waddle? Because he goes a fantasy life rank of 55, and he's going off the board on ESPN. Last time I looked, pick 88. when we talk about discrepancies and what the difference is between platforms, that one's 77, excuse me. But, on Underdog, he goes pick 55. You see him at pick 65 over there on Sleeper. So this is a big one where I'm like, okay, if you're going into that round, again, that's round 7. Like I said, that feels like a value, but I guess it depends on what people expect from the Dolphins this season. And Tua Tagovailoa not only staying healthy here, Adam, but we've got questions on Tyreek Hill. Will he be traded? Will he not? But this still, again, feels like screaming value.
Oh, I think it is. I'm definitely interested in him. And remember, whatever happens with Tyreek Hill, it could benefit Waddle if something happens injury-wise or he gets traded. So Waddle has dealt with injuries. We know that. But I think Jonnu Smith being gone, that's a 20% target share that's gone. It's not going to Darren Waller, okay? I know Waller was activated today. No, I think they activated him today.
Okay. I was like, what are we doing?
It's not going to him. It's going to benefit a guy like Waddle. So
yeah. Exactly.
And look, if Achane misses some time too, I mean, then
could be bad.
Yeah. So
but good
I do worry about this Dolphins offense. This feels like a team that's going to implode.
I'm starting to get bad vibes.
Yeah, I've had
good vibes. I know
but I'm
you
still
have.
interested in Waddle.
Okay. We have bad vibes, but Waddle at his price is someone that we like. So again, that article is live at fantasylife.com. So make sure you go and check it out. We'll continue to reference it throughout the show today because it is just that good. If you're drafting on ESPN, you need to go and check it out. We're going to continue on. Go hard or go home. This is based on the ceiling floor projections from Dwayne McFarland. Which one do we think is going to hit? We're going to give you those names coming up next. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. I got it right here, Adam. It's a Wednesday. We're getting you ready for drafts. We are weeks away from the start of the NFL season. It is already August 20th. So we're locked in and we're getting you ready to go. We're making sure that you're going to find the best values in those later round picks between wide receivers, running backs, and we're just here to make sure you dominate your draft. So we're going to do Go Hard or Go Home here, presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. And it is exactly how it sounds. Are these guys going to go hard and reach their ceiling projections here, Adam? Or may they go home and go more with the floor projections, which we are really hoping not. But it's just brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade because you have to go hard or go home, just like in your drafts. Be bold, be risky. It's exactly how champions are made. So again, this is presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Let me throw you George Pickens here. Go hard or go home. Which one do you think he's going to do here? Because his floor projection from Dwayne McFarland is 10.5 fantasy points per game, which we're like, that's not really what we want, especially depending on where you're at in drafts. He's not necessarily a cheap option. Ceiling, though, for George Pickens this season, 18.4 fantasy points per game. Which one do you think he's going to end up being closer to this season, the 10.5 or the 18.4? And I know you're drafting him, so I don't even need to ask you that.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to go hard and go closer to his ceiling. I think it's just the best spot he's been in his career. He's coming from a Pittsburgh offense that was conservative, didn't get him the ball enough. He showed really good skills last year. He could get open. I think Dak Prescott is the best quarterback he's played with. This is the best offense he's played with. Pittsburgh was 4th lowest in pass attempts last year. Dallas was top 3. There's going to be more volume. CeeDee Lamb on the other side is only going to help him. He's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage. Dallas was missing that deep vertical threat. He's the answer. He's playing for a contract and big money. So far, everything's been good. For what you don't hear anything negative about Pickens, and I think he understands, hey, I got to go prove myself, and then I'll get my money. So, yeah, I definitely think he's going to hit his ceiling. It's a really good spot for him, and you're already seeing the connection go well so far. Yeah. And Dallas is a team that's going to pass a lot once again. The defense has some question marks. They could be playing in a lot of shootouts. So, yeah, I'm going to say he's going to hit a ceiling.
Yeah, I like it. In Prescott's last 2 healthy years, he averaged 272 passing yards, 2.2 touchdowns per game. And I think there is room, like you said, for not only CeeDee Lamb, but for George Pickens. Because Ferguson, and I know we've mentioned him a little bit, but he got paid. He's not this high-end target earner that I feel like we're going to have to look at him and say, oh, well, because he's there, we have to downgrade George Pickens. That's just not how it's going to be. And George Pickens, again, has shown us, I mean, it hasn't come through in the fantasy points department, right? 9 10.6, 12.2, 12.4 points in the first 3 seasons that he's played. So he hasn't even broken into that wide receiver 2 category. But we know not only when we talk underlying data, but we talk about talent, Adam. We just had the same conversation with Chris Olave. Obviously different players, but when you know that someone's talented, they're now going to a different landscape, which I do think is going to help Pickens. I think that's what he needed. He needed this fresh start. It didn't seem like it was ever going to happen before, and I agree with you. So I'm with you on the ceiling. Hopefully, again, very much open to taking him as well. Let me give you go hard or go home, Garrett Wilson. Floor projection, 10.1 fantasy points per game. The ceiling projection, though, 17.9 fantasy points per game. Could be in the middle, but you think he's going to be closer to the ceiling or closer to the floor, realistically?
Okay, I have been drafting Garrett Wilson, but I'm taking a step back. I'm a little concerned. Now, again, we saw DJ Moore put up a big season with Justin Fields. But here's the thing with Garrett Wilson. He's always had a ton of targets, right? Because that's what we're going to say. Well, there's no other receivers. Where's the ball going? It's going to go to him. He's going to get a big target share. But we also know that target share is going to be smaller considering the Jets are going to be one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL. And we've seen Wilson 154 targets last year, 168 the year before. And what has it done for fantasy? He has not finished in the top 20. So he could have that volume and still not get there. So again, I am drafting him. I have, but I also see the other side where it's like, maybe it's like what we saw 2 years ago, right? Where he had 168 targets, caught 95, 1,042 yards, just 3 touchdowns. And the Vegas total touchdowns for him is 4.5. So when you look at other receivers in that range, they're usually not that low. So I think he can hit the ceiling, but if you're asking me, I'd say closer to the floor.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say floor, and I'm usually not the pessimistic one here, but we've got him projected for 5 touchdowns through the air. And it's just... Here's the thing. It's frustrating with Garrett Wilson because we know what he brings to the table, right? We know that he has, like, it all points to a wide receiver 1, but then you play 2 seasons with Zach Wilson. You are able to really catch on with Aaron Rodgers. They add Davante Adams, and then they turn to Justin Fields, Adam, who I really do want to say, yes, Garrett Wilson has all the traits and all the talent to hit the ceiling, and he does have that. But what do we have to look at? I mean, it feels like a conversation we're going to have in November where we just look back and say, oh, yeah, Justin Fields is his quarterback. He has averaged 180 passing yards for his career in games where he's played at least 90% of the snaps. Why would we have ever thought that, Garrett Wilson is able to reach this ceiling of close to, what did I say, 18 fantasy points per game? It just feels like the recipe for success for him isn't there, and it's all hinging upon Justin Fields, who, again, we've never seen as this prolific passer. That's not what he brings. That's not why we talk about him in fantasy. We talk about him because of the potential rushing upside. So it feels like it'll be, unfortunately, closer to the floor than the ceiling.
Yeah, and Wilson probably had his best fantasy season last year, 17th at the wide receiver position in points per game in PPR formats. But you got to remember, a lot of that early on was no Davante Adams, and then once Adams got acclimated, he overtook him. He still had a high floor, but again, it's a different situation where the Jets will not pass as much as they did last year and a different quarterback in Fields. So, yes, Fields did get DJ Moore to his best season ever, but now it's the first season of Fields and Wilson working together. We've seen the reports that some of these practices have been atrocious. Again, it's not changing our opinion on Justin Fields. If it is, like, come on, you're lost. Like, we know this. With Fields, it comes down to his rushing. We're not expecting him to be this prolific passer. And there will be series and games where it looks ugly, which is why you've said, if you draft Justin Fields, just don't watch the games. Just look at the box score when it's done. But it could put Garrett Wilson in a tough spot.
It definitely could, especially when you look at projections. Do you have right in front of you? I'm putting you on the spot. Fields, just any of his lines, are they out?
I do remember looking a couple weeks ago.
Yards?
Well, his rushing yards was like 600 and a half.
Okay.
So his passing yards, they have him for the first game. I need to find the season.
Because rush yards 600, I would hit the over on that. I think he's going to be closer to 800, 825, 850. But passing yards is always the interesting one because we haven't projected
I have
for
the passing yards now for the season. So it's 2550.5 on
Yeah.
DraftKings, 2600.5 on FanDuel.
I was
The
going to guess that,
passing
by the way.
touchdowns. Guess the passing touchdowns prop for Fields.
Oh, passing touchdowns?
Yeah.
14.
Yeah, 14.5.
Oh, is it? Look at me.
And the rushing yards has gone up. When I saw it like 2 weeks ago, it was 600.5. It's now 650.5.
I think that's still too low.
I think it is too, because we said he averages 50 rushing yards per game in his career. So if you think he's going to play the full season and he goes to his average, then he's going to get there. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. So yeah, I mean, look, when you're taking season-long props, you're going to make more money taking the under because guys get hurt. But that one, it seems you got to go over. If again,
like
I
it.
guess the risk is him losing the job. We've talked about it that it doesn't look like it, right? But if
They
he
didn't
is
pay
that
him
bad,
like it, but I get it. Yeah.
if he is that bad, I guess it's possible.
Oh, God. Could you imagine? That actually makes me sick to
No,
my
I
stomach
already
even
have.
thinking about it.
I've been
I have a
drafting
lot of
Justin Fields, so I don't
Yeah.
want that to
I don't-
happen.
We're not going to put that out there. But that was Go Hard or Go Home here, presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Because, again, like I said, it takes bold picks, bold flavors. And so we're going to continue going through Go Hard or Go Home, though, presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. I want to continue on here and go look at maybe some treasure hunting, treasure picks, guys that maybe people thought were trash last season, turning into treasure. We're going to give you those names. And if we believe that they could turn it around in 2025, we're going to do that here coming up next. Oh, mid-season form from our amazing producers, Adam. First of all, I love this song. I know you love this song. You like Bruno Mars?
It's not my favorite, but I'm fine with it.
All right. We need to find that middle ground here. Bruno's good. What do you mean? He's great live performer.
You've seen a lot of live performances. You go to a lot of concerts, don't you?
I have. Yeah. I guess, yeah. You went to a couple concerts this.
Yeah, not just one. Kendrick Lamar and SZA.
Oh, I don't know why I thought I saw. Oh, that was me. I saw Beyonce. Anyways, Bruno Mars said it best. Treasure. That's what we're searching for here. I hate to say trash because it just feels a little bit mean, Adam. And I don't think when we talk about Isaiah Pacheco that it's like from trash to treasure kind of situation here. But am very curious on your take for Isaiah Pacheco going into the season. He averaged 16 points per game once he took over that starting role in 2023, was obviously off to a really great start in 2024, had the exact same role, 16.6 points per game before the broken fibula ended his season. We know that he came back. We talked about it when he was coming back that we did not expect him to be 100%, and he absolutely was not. But now, Adam, you've got a full offseason where you're able to look at him and say, all right, he's been solid on volume. He has good explosiveness. Pass catching role is, below average. It's not something that we look at and say, okay, this is amazing. What are your expectations for him? And do you think he's going to be a piece of treasure this season for fantasy football?
I do. You have to throw out everything that you saw last year when he came back from that injury. He probably came back too soon. Team was going for a Super Bowl. You want to try and be out there. So I think that's what happened with him. The reports have been positive in the offseason. He's looked good in the preseason. And just look at the way they really didn't do much in that backfield. Yeah, they brought in Elijah Mitchell, but we know he's had a difficult time staying healthy. Kareem Hunt was solid last year in terms of he did what was needed, but there was nothing explosive. And, Brashard Smith, 7th-round pick. So it shapes up that they're basically telling us we believe in Pacheco. He's going to be the guy. And if you look at the games last year, I know it was only 2 games, but he was getting a big workload. 17 touches week 1, 24 in week 2. So I do think he's going to be the main guy there. And the price has gone up a little bit.
People are getting back in.
Yeah, they're starting to realize, hey, this is not a bad pick here. So, yeah, if you do get that, hero RB build and take one early, I don't mind him as my RB2.
We got reports early that it was maybe potentially a rotation, but I don't know, Adam. I don't see that. Again, don't let Kareem Hunt stand in the way of drafting Isaiah Pacheco. Same with Elijah Mitchell. I know Brashard Smith is an interesting one where I have taken him towards the very end of drafts just in case as a dart throw. But for me, I don't know. Pacheco has a chance to just obviously lock down this lead role, provide high-end RB2 upside, and it wasn't reflected in his price earlier, like you said, but people are coming back around to it. I just can't see this being a committee in any aspect.
I would be surprised. I mean, maybe you mix in Kareem Hunt a little bit because they seem to have trust in him. But I think Pacheco gets the bulk of the touches in this backfield. And again, a solid RB2 if you go wide receiver heavy early.
Rome Odunze, really quick, rapid fire. Treasure? Say yes.
Yes.
Do you believe it?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were going to say no. No, I don't believe it. All right. I like it a lot. Guys, we're going to go through your phone calls. Make sure you're calling in here because we want to talk to you, answer all your questions that you have for drafts. 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call-in button. We're going to the water cooler. News and notes coming up next. We're in the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. We are talking through all the pieces of news that you might have heard over the last 24, 48 hours, making sure we break those down for you because they will impact your fantasy football drafts. We always want to make sure that you are the most up-to-date person going into your drafts. That's why we're here. That's why fantasylife.com is here as well. So make sure you head over there. Use that code. As always, we've got the best listeners, Adam, so they deserve it. SXM20 gets you 20% off any Tier 1 or Tier 2 Fantasy Life Plus subscription. So head over there. You can check out all those tools that we've talked about today and every day, the ADP tool, the mock draft simulator, the projections, the rankings, everything that you need to dominate those drafts is at fantasylife.com. And again, we're going through some pieces of news that we've heard over the last couple of hours here. We also want to make sure we're taking your phone calls. So 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in, or you can press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. If you're at work, if you can't sneak away to call us in, make sure you send us a message at Valenzuela17 at Adam Ronis over there on X, on Twitter, and we'll try and get to as many of those as we can during this segment especially. So Adam, let's get into it. You ready to go? Malik Nabers returned to practice for the Giants. Always great news. We weren't overly worried. We talked about this, I believe, a couple of days ago. But Malik Nabers being back is really good because he was taking part in practice. I guess I didn't realize he was out for a couple of weeks. But again, great news to hear that. And our guy, Cam Skattebo, was back. Scat is back.
I don't think he's your guy. You've been passing on him in drafts.
Don't do this. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, so we'll see. I want to see your next few drafts, see how aggressive you are.
Today or tomorrow. I'll make sure. Well, yeah. I'll join your Beat Adam Ronis League and I'll take him. How's that?
Let's see you do that.
We love Cam being back though, because it was making me a little bit nervous. But anytime any guy, we talk about this though, in all seriousness, whenever, especially rookies though, or guys that have gone to new teams, when they miss time at training camp, not being able to, just be out there all the time, not, be out there to learn the playbook, all that other stuff, it's very different. And so when he was out for a good chunk of time, it was like, okay, I can understand why Tyrone Tracy, is going earlier in drafts than him. I thought when we started the offseason though, Adam, Cam was never a running back that you got any discount for. He was like the people's running back because, they caught on to, they saw clips from the Peach Bowl. They saw, people talking about him at the NFL draft. So he was never a secret really. So I was sad. I never really got the Cam discount, which was disappointing.
Yeah. Again, you were just not being loyal to your guy and just kept passing
Whatever.
him. But yeah, his price did drop. Tracy started to go up because there was a report Tracy's going to be the guy, and Skattebo being injured as a rookie in training camp, that's never a good thing, losing those reps. Nabers was never worried about him, did not drop him in the rankings. To me, it felt like a guy that says, yeah, I don't really want to participate in training camp. Yeah, this is bothering me. I'm going to sit it out. Oh, season's almost here. Okay, yeah, I'm good to go. And so never changed the ranking on him. I have seen some drafts where he does go like late first round. And I think you even had it in one of your mock draft simulator articles that we've done, because I've done it too. And there was one where I think I got him at 12.
Oh, yeah. If that happens to me, I'm going to take him there every time. The other player that fell every time in my mock draft simulator when I wrote that article was Travis Hunter, which was crazy because I had already taken Brian Thomas Jr. in the mock draft. And so when it was usually his pick to come up, I said, well, I don't necessarily want to double dip with two wide receivers on the same team, because is that how you look at your drafts? We've gotten some questions about that, about, wide receiver ones, wide receiver twos on teams. I know that that's a question that I've seen come across, but at some point, Adam, it was 3 rounds later and Travis Hunter still hadn't been taken. So he was going to be on my bench. And at some point I just looked and I said, you know what? when we talk about value and someone falling that shouldn't be falling in this mock draft, I don't think that that would happen in real life. But if it does, I took him and I just said, you know what, I'm okay having Brian Thomas Jr. on my team and drafting Travis Hunter because he was just going to be one of my bench players. Could be turned into a flex, right, if everything goes well for the Jaguars. But how do you feel about, drafting players on the same team?
I will do it. It's not a plan. Obviously, the concern is if that offense has a bad week, now you have two players that could put up low scores, and now you're in trouble for the week. So it really depends on the offense. Bengals, we're good with it, right? Obviously, Higgins, Chase. Sometimes you see Chase and Chase Brown on the turn. So I'm fine with it there. But I do think the Jacksonville offense will be much better. It comes down to Trevor Lawrence, obviously. But, yeah, getting Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, I'm fine with it. And they're talk now that Hunter's going to play mostly offense, and they're going to mix him in at corner. So it bodes well for him.
I love that for us. Especially if you were taking him where he was going. He was sometimes, I'm telling you, he fell a lot of the time. And I get it. Some people might just look at Trevor Lawrence and say, there's no way. We've thought that he was supposed to be this supreme quarterback for a lot of the time. But my stance on it. I'm comfortable walking away with Trevor Lawrence as one of my quarterbacks. Not my only quarterback. One QB leagues, it's a little bit different conversation. But when we get into super flex and potentially taking him as a second, I'm very, very open to it. Because they did a lot. I mean, we've talked about it with Caleb Williams, how they've done things to make sure that he is able to succeed. We can't say that for some quarterbacks and not look at Trevor Lawrence and think that they didn't do the same, because I believe that they did. I mean, to get Travis Hunter on that team was huge. And it was obvious, we've talked about the running back situation over there, but I do think Trevor Lawrence has everything that he needs, or almost everything, to succeed, and a better coach. That's going to be huge too.
Yeah, and we have seen him have a good fantasy season before. Overall, we would say he's been a disappointment, considering that he was the number one overall pick and the expectations were high. And he can run too.
Yeah.
Last year we didn't see it as much because he was banged up, but he has 2 seasons of over 300 rushing yards. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in 10 games last year, 4 in 16 games in 2023, and 5 in 17 games in 2022. And yeah, look, he's got to respond, right?
He does.
This is it. They brought in a top receiver for you. You have Brian Thomas, who emerged in his rookie year. You have a coach now, Liam Cohen, who's had success. So it's time now for Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, I've taken him as my QB2.
Yeah, and I look at him, and last season was his worst. He has given us QB 12, QB 8 finishes in the 2 years before. And it's just something where I know the recency bias, it's something that I have to deal with, Adam, where I just say, man, I have to throw out everything that we saw last season for specific players because it looks like it's going to be different. So I agree with you there. I'm really liking Trevor Lawrence going into this season. We'll see if it works out for us. Continuing on, and again, want to make sure we get to your phone calls as well. We see you on hold. We appreciate you waiting. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in, or you can send us those messages at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. Did we get to Jalen McMillan yesterday, or did that happen after the show was over?
I think it happened after the show.
Okay, so let me, even if it didn't, I wanted to make sure to touch on it again, but Jalen McMillan is going to begin the season on IR. So he could, and the reports are, Adam, that he could actually miss more than 4 games, because Todd Bowles, we heard about him, was kind of talking about, Jalen McMillan not being ready for week 1, didn't really provide a timetable as well. So we got reports from Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times that, he's going to be on IR to start the season, means he misses 4 games at least. But they added that he could be out past the team's off bye week in week 9. So this is, it's not good news for McMillan, someone that you could have been taking way later in drafts, where if we thought that Chris Godwin wasn't going to be good to start the season, which I think both of us still believe, maybe he even starts the year on IR. Jalen McMillan, if you're not able to get Emeka Egbuka or Mike Evans, was a good guy to get in those later rounds. But now that he's out, again, it just we're never going to be able to get Emeka Egbuka again, Adam, because he's just expensive, and people are finally realizing like how good this guy's going to be and how much time he's probably going to play right off the bat.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I'm sorry.
I do have quite a bit, but I still have some very important leagues to draft. But yeah, it definitely boosts him for sure. And as far as McMillan now, to me, you can't draft him unless you're taking him in the last round where you have IR spots and don't have them filled already. Because, again, you're looking at potentially half the season, and it could be more at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's off the draft board at this point.
It sucks because of what he was able to give. Well, I remember he was the guy for you last season that you were so close. I think you were a week off, but you had to drop him, right? Because of the waiver wire run.
Yeah, I wrote about him in the preseason in the newsletter, the Fantasy Life newsletter, saying, hey, this is a guy you take late and just hold on for a little bit, and there's a chance that if Evans or Godwin go down, he could play himself into a big role. And that did happen.
Yes.
I don't remember. Was Evans and Godwin the same week they got injured?
It was the same game. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Same game.
So then I was like, here we go. And look, it took him some time. He was not great immediately, and that sometimes can happen with these rookie wide receivers where they're not playing a big role, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, here you go. You're a primary piece of the offense. So it took him some time. But, yeah, I couldn't hold on because at that point you had injuries, you had bye weeks, and he wasn't performing. And then, of course, down the stretch, he helped people win leagues.
Yep.
Well, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 touchdowns in the last 4 or 5 games. So, look, and it's going to happen again this year, right? There are probably going to be some rookies that we are drafting, we're holding, and there will come a point, whether it's week 5, 6, or 7 with bye weeks and injuries, where you go, well, this guy's not getting an opportunity. He's not performing. I need to make some cuts to get some players for this bye week, and you cut them, and then 3 weeks later, they go into an expanded role and take off, and you just can't regret it. I always look at the decision at the time. Did you make the right call? And I look back on most of those calls and I said, it was the right call. You're going to have regrettable drops. It's inevitable. But that one, you can't sit there and beat yourself up over. Sometimes there are decisions where you're like, yeah, that was stupid. Why'd I do that? That's going to happen. Where you do your best to avoid those. But as far as McMillan last year, I had no choice. It just wasn't working, and you had to move on. And fortunately, I was able to get him back maybe in 1 or 2 of those leagues, but that sucks because it's like, I drafted him in the double-digit rounds, and now I got to spend fab on him. Damn it.
Yeah, I know. It's the worst. The guy, who did I drop last season? I just couldn't do it anymore. Oh, it was a 10-team league, so I felt way better about it, but Mark Andrews at some point, I was like, I can't keep doing this. And then obviously he ended up getting better. We just didn't know the extent of that car accident that he was in. They made it seem like he was good to go, but obviously there were lingering things going on after that car accident. And then I just said, I can't. It was almost like a rage drop, to be totally honest. I was just like, I can't keep doing this.
Well,
it was
probably after week 4, because week 3 he had 0 catches on 1 target. Week 4 he had 0 catches on 1 target. So people see that. And again, the first 2 weeks weren't great either. So he had 9 targets over the first 4 games, 6 catches for 65 yards. So he was crushing you in 3 of those 4 weeks. And whenever you get that double donut, you're like, yeah, I'm not going through this again. Yeah. And then after that, 4 for 55, and then he scored a touchdown almost every single game the rest of the way.
They have us to thank. It's after dropping Jalen McMillan, he starts to go off a little bit. It's after Mark Andrews. We've all been there. That's why fantasy is so fun, right? That's why we keep playing. Let me go one more here just to give an update on Quinshon Judkins, someone that we talk a lot about here, but it's just because this is just an evolving situation that we have to keep an eye on. But it looks like the Browns might not sign Quinshon Judkins until the NFL investigation ends. So again, they have not reached an agreement. He was the 36th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. They have yet to reach an agreement, and the possibility here, per Adam Schefter, is that they won't until the NFL has concluded the internal investigation. That also begs the question, Adam, if there is a chance that he could actually be suspended for a portion of the season. We, again, don't know the timeline or how long that could be. I've still stuck with what I've said before. I have no shares of Quinshon Judkins. If we get different news, and I understand he's been going up draft boards. People have been saying, you know what, I want to make sure that I get him on my teams. We talked with Dwayne McFarland just a couple of days ago, and he had taken him in the host league that we were in. Now, again, it's because of the build that he was going for. He needed another running back. He took him in the 6th round, and he felt like that was a good time to take him. So it just depends on what your build is looking like and everything else. But I've still got 0% exposure to Quinshon Judkins, going pick 111 11 on ESPN. Sleeper, he's going pick 74, 106 on Yahoo, and then 114 on CBS. So again, just a situation where it's a wait and see what's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot depends on when your draft is. If I'm drafting right now, I'm staying away at this point. He has to really fall far. Still no contract. We still don't know if there's going to be a potential suspension. And either way, if that all works out and in the next week or two he comes back, he's still way behind, not participating with his team at all here in training camp. And so it could be, say he does next few days, sign a contract, he's good to go. It could still be a month before he's good to go. So yeah, I guess it comes down to the price, but he would really have to fall far. And I don't think he will fall far enough. I think there's going to be someone in every draft room who says, yeah, I'm going to take him here a little earlier than me.
I agree 100%. Let's go out to the phone lines now, 888-963-2682, or press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. Let's go out to, if we still have Andy from West Palm Beach, let's go out to Andy. What do you got for us?
Hey, guys. So I got my big money live draft this Saturday. It's a 12-team league, half-point PPR, 3 keepers. So there's 36 players off the board. So it really moves up that running back, wide receiver, dead zone to the end of the second and third round. So my keepers this year are HN in the 12th, JSN in the 4th, and DeVonta Smith in the 5th. And we start 3 wide receivers. So I've got the 4th pick. My question, I've been teetering, trying not to overreact too much to the HN news, but I was going to try to go with a hero RB and take a Jefferson or a Lamb. But based on the intel of who's picking in front of me, Barkley would still be available. What are your guys' thoughts on Barkley, Lamb, and Jefferson in kind of the with the HN news and my roster construction?
No, that's a really good question, Andy. Appreciate that. So again, HN in the 12th, JSN in the 4th, DeVonta Smith in the 5th, Adam. When we talk about hero RB, just in case people don't know, it's, you know, it's kind of like you say, okay, I want to anchor my team to really good running backs here. And that's exactly what Andy's potentially doing. Saquon Barkley with the 4th overall pick, though. What do you think? I see your face.
That would be Lamb for me. Look, the Barkley situation is, you look at history, it does not bode well for him. 482 touches last season, including the postseason. And if you look at most running backs since 2000 to have at least 400 touches, they don't do well the next year. Now, you could tell me Barkley's an outlier. It's a great offensive line. Possible. I mean, he's 28. He's played at least 16 games 3 times in his career. Yes, he didn't take a lot of big hits. He had a lot of easy runs, and it is a great offensive line. But there's risk coming off that workload. Again, history shows it. So I feel that Lamb and Jefferson are safer to me.
And again, Andy said that he's starting 3. You start 3 receivers, and then you go into the flex, I believe is what he said. So again, HN, here's the thing. We're trying not to overreact because we did say we're getting bad vibes, Adam. So, you know, it's something, though, that if you can, Andy, when you're in this draft as well, try and get the handcuff, right? It's not going to be a 1-for-1. No one on that team is going to put up the production like HN can. But getting one of Jaylen Wright still to us is the guy to go and get. Ollie Gordon, I know.
And he's cheap.
I've seen pushback, though. I've seen people saying that it's actually Ollie Gordon, and it is important, and that's why I want to bring it up. It is important to get the right handcuff because there's nothing worse than thinking you have the guy for your starting running back, and then all of a sudden things change. So I have seen the pushback on the Ollie Gordon conversations that we've had, Adam, but I'm still, and it could be a 1A, 1B situation too. Again, I don't think either of Ollie Gordon or Jaylen Wright, if they had to go in for this team, would be a direct replacement, right, for HN and the production that he has. I feel like they would even probably split a little bit.
Probably, yeah. So, and again, HN, you got him in the 12th round too. So you'll be able to get another running back in the next couple of rounds that you'll be fine with.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go. Let's do one more here. Let's go out to Frank in New York. Frank, what do you got for us? You guys could hang out together. Could be fun.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, Frank, what do you got?
Hello? Oh, hey. I'm glad you guys were just talking Judkins. I'm in the middle of a draft right now. It's a slow draft dynasty league. I took, with my first-round pick, we keep 10 players. I took Judkins with my first pick, and now here we are in like the 7th round. and I'm looking for a backup running back. I was thinking I should probably take Sampson, but I don't really have a flex player yet, and Eckler is out there. I'm trying to decide what I should do.
Is Dynasty, though,
in
right?
Dynasty,
I'm
I would
taking
take Samson.
Yeah.
Look at us. Wow, jinx, Adam. Look at best friends. How could people say anything else? But I agree, Frank. I understand it too, because Eckler, you kind of know the situation that you're in. Brian Robinson is potentially being shopped, but when we talk about Dynasty, I also really like to look at just the age range and what you can get out of these guys. So even if you do have Quinshon Judkins already, I would pick Samson instead of Eckler. But and Adam, it sounds like you'd do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's probably looking at like, well, I can use Eckler now. He could catch some passes, but still, there's a chance that Samson could be a guy that you're using early in the season. I know Jerome Ford is there, and maybe he's probably the likely starter, but Samson more explosive, and he gets on the field, makes some plays. Maybe they go, all right, we need to get this guy on the field more.
Yeah, absolutely. So appreciate everyone calling in here. And again, we're going to continue to try and take phone calls throughout the remainder of the show. But we get to talk with Michael Salfino next, Adam. We have to go through his rankings, one of your friends as well. We're going to go through it, talk with him coming up here next. We've got a very special guest joining us right now. It's Michael Salfino. He is a contributor to The Athletic. You've seen him write for the Wall Street Journal, 538, where he has obviously written about a variety of sports topics. You can find him on X at Michael Salfino because we're breaking down, and that's where you can find the 2025 fantasy football rankings from him. Michael, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. Adam, you want to start, or you want to talk about the Jets? What are we doing here, Adam? We want to talk about GST League. Michael, I'll let you know.
No.
Yeah, let's talk about the Jets. I'm letting you know also, I am willing. Adam said I couldn't trade my GST League pick to you, but I'm willing to give you money to get the 6th overall pick that you have. I'm just going to throw it out there. But he said no.
I didn't even realize I had the 6th overall pick, but that's
that
good
must
to
be
know.
nice.
I pretty much do these rankings just for this league, so that's 30,000 words of profiles just to hopefully finish in second place again.
Perfect. Well, I want to go through them. Justin Fields, for you, looking at QB6, not to talk about the Jets the whole time, but am curious because Adam and I were talking about Fields and the potential for him, ceiling floor projections for Garrett Wilson as well. What are your expectations, really? He's never been this prolific passer, but it's the rushing upside that he brings us. Why do you have him right there at QB6?
Well, he was QB6 last year in the 6 games he played for the Steelers. So, I feel that's a reasonable base rate. I think the Jets are going to be more aggressive in deploying him as a runner. And, if we have faith in the Detroit system for the other quarterbacks, maybe we could give Fields a little bit of a bump for his passing. I know it was ugly in the last preseason game, but, it was only 5 attempts. There's so many games in the NFL where a guy starts out like 1 for 7 and then rebounds and has a good game. So I don't want to put too much stock into preseason performance generally, but especially, in such a limited sample like that. So I believe that Fields at QB6 is pretty much like a 50th percentile projection. I don't think that there's any fat in there whatsoever or any real optimism. It's just, our games are geared towards the running quarterbacks, and I think his ADP right now, which is quarterback 12, I just think that that's kind of like influenced a lot by LOL Jets, which I get. They deserve it, but it's not good business, I don't think, for fantasy football.
Jahmyr Gibbs often goes as the top 3 pick off the board. I've even seen some drafts where he goes as the first overall pick. You have him at RB7. Why so low on him?
Well, in the games where they were both healthy last year, Montgomery actually had more rushes. So it's just hard for me. I think counting on this incredible efficiency and dominance of the Lions running game generally is I think a bad bet. I want the expectation to be just sort of for a normal range of performance in order to accumulate fantasy scoring. I don't know where he finished last year. I don't think it was RB3. It may have been just because of attrition at the position, but I doubt it. And I just can't get past the fact that you're basically splitting goal line carries. And Montgomery, like I said, had more carries in the games where they were both active. So I think putting him at running back 7 is just like a total hat tip to his elite ability. And I just can't really put him higher just because, as both of you know, touches, opportunity, that's the building block of our game.
Mm-hmm. Talking with Michael Salfino, excited to have you on, talking through your rankings. Can we talk tight ends here? Can we? You've got Gesicki at 8, I believe. You've got Pitts at 10, and some of the guys that others are really in on, like a Hawkinson, an Evan Ingram, even a David Njoku, you have ranked a bit lower. So what when you're looking at the tight end landscape makes you like some of these guys that maybe are being forgotten about in drafts a little bit better than some of the others?
Well, first of all, unless you're getting a top 3 scorer that's equivalent to like maybe a top 25 wide receiver at the tight end position, all those guys are pretty much in the same sort of meaningless bucket. And whether you get the tight end 8 or the tight end 13, it's not going to really make one bit of difference. Nobody wins a fantasy league because they got the tight end 8. But with Gesicki, I just think, there's a high level of passing volume. He got paid significantly. One of the guiding principles of my rankings is when there's new money that a team has used to chase a player or to sign a player, I give that significant weight. And when the rankings are out of kilter, basically, with contract money that's been given to somebody, I usually will defer to the money that the team just paid for the player. I'm not talking about dead money that a team is maybe trying to get out of. I mean, they just signed Gesicki for, $25 million or whatever it was. So I think that he's going to have a healthy target share. I don't really factor in a low propensity for red zone and touchdown scoring for a tight end as something that's predictive. It's definitely descriptive. I just don't think that there's no reason why Gesicki can't get his fair share of touchdowns. I think, the player that I would want everybody to draft based on my rankings, the guy that I think could be George Kittle, if he had a reasonable level of opportunity. And Green Bay has not had any receiver go over 100 targets since DeVonta Adams left. But I think if they made Tucker Kraft a focal point in their passing game, that he could be in that top 25 wide receiver category just because of the metrics that I use in my rankings, which, I use the NGS speed, the radar speed from the NFL to measure athleticism. He crushes that. I use the NGS yards after catch, where they figure out where the receiver is at the catch point and where all the defenders were relative to the receiver, and they figure out what an average receiver would get in yards per catch, and then they give him the yardage above or below that expectation. And Kraft was by far the best tight end, and even better than Kittle, who was predictably great at that. I think he had 2.2 yards over expected, and Kraft was 2.7. So it's just a matter of will. Are they going to target the tight end more? If they do, I think Kraft could be kind of like a league winner where he's going, which is around tight end 12.
You have Travis Hunter at wide receiver 20. That's well above his ADP. What are people missing?
Well, I think the people are catching up. Like, he started out at 35. Last time I checked, he was 31. I expect him to be 25 pretty soon. I think what we're doing is just the old issue, the standard issue in fantasy, where we kind of tether our rankings to each other and also to our priors, basically. And so I think that the expectation was that Hunter was going to play, maybe 50% of the snaps on offense, 50% of the snaps on defense. So he just wasn't going to get enough opportunity to, outperform his ADP where it was, and maybe perform up to the level of his actual NFL draft ADP. But all the information that we've gotten since the draft is that, he's the starting wide receiver. He's a backup cornerback. He had 11, 92% of the snaps with the first team offense in his first preseason game. He didn't have any snaps with the first team defense. The coach said that the plan is for him to get at least 80% of the snaps on offense. So I just don't see in a world where, Marvin Harrison Jr. was the wide receiver 8 last year. Hunter is clearly a better talent based on all the draft nicks as a wide receiver prospect. Why is he? I think wide receiver 20 is cheap. Like, I am generally against rookie wide receivers, but that's just like the gift of this draft season so far to get Hunter at wide receiver 30. It's like criminally absurd that his ADP is that low.
Again, we're talking with Michael Salfino. Make sure you're giving him a follow at Michael Salfino on X, and that's where you can find also the rankings that we're talking about here. Last one before we let you go here, Jakobi Meyers. I got to know. So your wide receiver 24, when we're looking at it, he is consensus, though, usually around wide receiver 37. It's not a super sexy name. It's someone that sometimes a lot of people overlook. But what are you liking about Jakobi Meyers going into this season?
Well, first of all, like, when I rank a player, that's not where I think you should draft him. You always should pay market prices. ADP is the foundation of our game and of our draft strategy. You should always know where the players are in the queue. You should never reach below. Like, if you're reaching because by the time he gets the next pick, his ADP will have passed you, that to me is acceptable. But you cannot reach rounds because you happen to have a player ranked, at a certain level of the draft. That's just where I think Meyers is going to finish. My rationale for that is a lot of people think that Brock Bowers is going to be the focal point of the passing game. In the games where they were both active, it was Bowers out-targeting Meyers, but it was only 120 to 113. And now there's a lot of noise. I'm not putting that much stock into the noise about the lack of reps with the first-team offense for Bowers relative to Michael Myers. I know they're going to a 3 tight end base offense for Geno Smith. I just think that Geno Smith's history has been targeting the receivers and not really targeting the tight end. I understand he's never had somebody who's a performer at the level of Bowers, but I just think that there's a little bit of noise there. So I would not be surprised at all if Myers finishes within an eyelash of Bowers for the most targets on the Raiders team. And I just think, 140, 150 targets, that's something that I will happily pay a wide receiver 24 price for.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Michael Salfino, again, this is who we were talking to here. We appreciate you hopping on with us, and hopefully we get to talk to you throughout the rest of the offseason and regular season as well. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great being on, and thanks a lot. And to everybody, have a good draft.
There we go. Appreciate it. We're going to go draft or pass, presented by Premier National Sports here. Got some running backs, more topics like Isaiah Pacheco for in or out. If we're going to draft or pass on them at their ADP, we're going to do that here coming up next. It is draft or pass, presented by Premier National Sports right here, because if you know someone that has a high school athlete or you have a high school athlete looking to take their game to the next level, just like some of these running backs we hope are trying to do, Premier National Sports, that is the team to help you through the entire process. We've talked about them a lot, but they are a trusted recruiting and NIL resource for high school athletes and their families. Visit them at premiernationalsports.com. Draft or pass, Adam. Here we go. I've got running back edition because we've talked about some good receivers here, but we're kind of getting into the other running backs, the non-Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Ashton Genties of the world. Draft or pass right now, have to circle back on Tony Pollard and what your expectations are for him. It's got an ADP right now. Last time I checked, 85.1 on ESPN, pick 70 on Sleeper, Yahoo 62, kind of all over the place depending on where you're looking. But the update was that Tyjae Spears is dealing with that high ankle sprain, which we never want. It's early-ish in the off season, but again, this is one that Tyjae Spears, we talked about liking him a lot this season, and I've actually kind of paused on drafting him just until we get better news about the high ankle sprain. So does that make our attention turn to Tony Pollard? What do you think for him?
Yeah, I'm going to draft now. I did draft some Tyjae Spears too, so that is not good in some of my early drafts. And I was saying I was open to taking both these guys. But obviously with Spears dealing with that high ankle and don't know when he's going to return. Could be week 1, 2, or 3. And even when he does return, we've seen players come back from these high ankle sprains, and it takes them some time to get going. So last year, the same thing was said, hey, we're going to use Pollard and Spears. And then Spears got banged up early, and they went with Pollard with the heavy workload. And he got to 1,000 yards once again. Now, he did deal with injuries. He missed a lot of practice, but was still out in the field. So there were some times where you got some tough performances. But again, this Titans offense is improved. They added a couple linemen with Kevin Zeitler and Dan Moore. You got Cam Ward there. Yep. So you feel better about the offense. And if Pollard is going to be the guy early in the season, that bodes well. So certainly you can get him as your RB3. And I'm fine with that. We know he's going to be involved in the passing game as well. And the quarterback play is much better, which I think is really positive for a guy like Pollard. So, yeah, I definitely am drafting him.
Yeah, I'm changing my tune as well. Not that I didn't like Tony Pollard. I just wanted a little bit more Tajay Spears. It was always a situation, Adam, that we talked about where we said if either one of these guys went down, the other would get a big workload. We just didn't expect it to be Tajay Spears in the offseason working with the high ankle sprain. So now at this point, you have to kind of switch up a little bit. And Tony Pollard was good in 2024. 6th in rushing attempts, 9th in total touches, 12th in rushing yards. And then he finished as a top 20 fantasy running back 9 of the 16 weeks that he was able to play. So I'm with you there. I'm good, especially at that price. Like I said, he's going to be the cheapest when you're on ESPN, pick 85. But prices on Sleeper are still good at pick 70. CBS, he's going 65. So it's all right there. Draft or pass? Let me go. You know what? Let me go Josh Jacobs here. We haven't talked much Josh Jacobs recently. And I know that sometimes we get caught up because we want to help you find the good guys, the gems at the middle back half of your drafts. But what do you think for Josh Jacobs this season? Listen, in the offseason, I was drafting MarShawn Lloyd. He's hurt again, Adam. It feels like that guy's Oh, it's so frustrating. It feels like he's never going to be able to stay healthy because I did think going into this season that the workload that they gave Jacobs last year would not be the same. But now, Adam, I'm unsure. I know that Jordan Love is going to have a better season. He started the year off last year. He was injured, and it obviously affected that team throughout the whole season. Josh Jacobs' workload was insane. But again, when I thought that, I also thought that MarShawn Lloyd was the handcuff that you need to draft, and right now he's not. What do you think for him, draft or pass at his current price?
I'm passing. I just don't find him on any of my teams. Generally, he goes mid to late second round. So he's coming off a ridiculous year where they gave him heavy volume. And I did think we'd see maybe a little MarShawn Lloyd this year. I have been taking him late in drafts. So this guy just has not been able to stay healthy. So yeah, they have Emmanuel Wilson there too, but really not much behind him. So I think that's why people love him. But also expecting him to repeat, I think, is going to be difficult. And I also do see it being more balanced this year, where you look at Jordan Love's pass attempts from 2 years ago, they went way down. And a lot of that had to do with him just not being healthy with a couple of injuries, including the one in week 1 in Brazil when we were like, wow, he could be out for the year. And somehow he came back. So I think they're going to pass a little bit more, put the ball in the hands of Love. Jacob's still going to get a big workload, but I just don't like the price, and I think it's going to be difficult for him to repeat what he did last year.
Yeah, he's wow. On CBS, he goes at pick 10.
Yeah, go ahead, have him. He's yours.
Well, I can't.
You can have him
I'm
at 12.
Pick 12. No,
well,
he's not going to be there.
He'll be there. In that draft,
yes,
I guarantee you he's there at 12.
15 on Sleeper, 20 on ESPN. So it's really the price more than the player, Adam, it sounds like. Or you really do think that his workload is going to come back. And it's not the workload of I want to say this. It sounds like it's not the workload of the potential backup running back. It's the workload of of Jordan Love, where we see him kind of do better than what happened last season, because I don't think that was in their plans last year. I don't think they expected to have to use Josh Jacobs as much as they did. Then he comes in the offseason. He's very vocal about this team needing a wide receiver one. So it sounds like it's more because of the ADP and the potential maybe workload that we see lifted off his shoulders going into this year.
Yeah, and also, I just don't expect the touchdowns to repeat either. You know, he had 15 rushing touchdowns in 17 games. Again, coming off a massive workload. The last time we saw him come off a big workload, he wasn't as good the following season when he had that big year in 2022, then fell off in 2023. So again, he's fine. It's just in that area of where he's going, I like other players better.
Okay. No, I understand that. What do we say? Hate the ADP, not necessarily the player. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like with him. I want to go through a couple more because I've got a couple more running backs going later in drafts. I want to see if we're in or out on them based on their price. But again, this was Draft or Pass presented by Premier National Sports. Again, they help rising high school athletes take their game to the next level, just like we hope these running backs take their game to the next level going into this season. They have personalized recruiting strategies and NIL education, which we all know is so important right now for this year. Check them out if you haven't already, premiernationalsports.com. We're going to continue going through some later round running back picks and if we like them coming up here next. So here's a little PSA to everyone listening right now. You need to know that your league mates want you distracted. They want you either out of snacks, they want you out of drinks, they want you running to the store during your fantasy draft so they can draft your sleeper. We're not going to let that happen. Don't give them that satisfaction. Make sure you call in GoPuff. Snacks, drinks, and everyday essentials. Those are delivered to you in as fast as 15 minutes because you're not going to let them draft your sleeper or your favorite rookie. You get 60% off your first order with code Fantasy Life 60. Again, this is GoPuff. Don't let your league mates do that to you. Enjoy 60% off your first order with code Fantasy Life 60. As always, appreciate everyone hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. It is Wednesday all day, Adam. I will not mess that up again. I won't forget it. Make sure you stick around, though. What? Say it.
You might forget it.
Anyways.
I wouldn't count on it. I bet against you.
Oh, stop. I'm going to remember that it's Wednesday, and I'll remember that tomorrow's Thursday. It's going to be great. RotoWire, Fantasy Sports Today. Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalen here is coming up next, so make sure you keep it locked in all day on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Wanted to finish off our running back conversations of guys that maybe we're in, maybe we're out on, depending on their ADP. Chuba Hubbard. Let's talk about Chuba Hubbard here because we've talked about him, but I want to get into it a little bit because, he was someone last season where I know you and I loved to draft him, and they paid him. They gave him the 4-year extension worth $33.2 million, $15 million guaranteed. He had 16.4 points per game last season. Obviously, a lot of that was because we kind of knew that we didn't want to be drafting Jonathan Brooks at the time. We didn't expect him to come back like maybe some others had. So when you look at Chuba Hubbard, based on his price, not only that, but then obviously adding Rico Dowdle in free agency, drafting Trevor Etienne in round 4, do you have concerns about Hubbard and just kind of we talk about workload a lot, keeping that same workload that we saw him have last season?
So I have taken him, but I also am starting to feel a little bit concerned that we've seen Rico Dowdle in there in passing situations, and Hubbard wasn't very good at catching the ball out of the backfield. So I'm a little concerned that he could lose some passing down work to Rico Dowdle, and that would definitely hurt him a little bit, but he was very good last year. As you mentioned, they paid him. He was RB 13 in points per game in fantasy. So, like I said, I have taken him as my RB2, but I'm starting to worry a little bit that maybe he loses some passing down work.
Well, to me, not only Rico Dowdle, but he had the 12% target share, which was also probably a product of them not having good receivers last season, to be honest. Like, that wide receiver room was just as awful as you could imagine. And then you go out and add a Tetairoa McMillan, and you say to yourself, okay, well, they've got a little bit more here, especially with Ted. You and I love drafting Ted. He's one of my most drafted, I believe, receivers this season. But I'm with you a little bit. Mid-range running RB2, right? RB3 downside if he does lose passing down work, but I've still drafted him the same as you. Maybe just not necessarily a target like he was months ago, where we didn't really know what that split could look like. He should be okay.
I think I took him in the Sirius XM host league like 2 weeks ago.
Aaron Jones. We talk a lot about Jordan Mason. We love Jordan Mason. At the price for Aaron Jones and with the potential that we see with Jordan Mason, are you completely out on Jones at his price right now?
Yeah, I'm passing. I'm very concerned that he's going to lose a lot of work to Jordan Mason. 31 years old in December, and I've always been a huge fan of Aaron Jones. Thought he should have gotten bigger workloads in Green Bay, but again, I think Green Bay probably said, hey, this is probably what's going to keep him healthy and what's worked best, and he was always very efficient all those years. And then he goes to Minnesota, and it was a solid year, but just 5 rushing touchdowns. Again, a career high in carries of 255. He did have the 51 receptions, so he'll probably still play a big role in the passing game. But I do think you're going to see the touches really diminish. And I just think that Jones and Mason should be drafted closer together. And you can make a case that Mason is the better value at this point. So, yeah, I'm passing on Aaron Jones.
He was good for fantasy managers last season. I had a good amount of him, and I was happy with it. But 60%, he took 60% of the attempts and 65% of the work inside the 5-yard line. Both of those numbers, I feel like we're on the same page. Feel like they could come down with Jordan Mason there. So he's one. I have none. I was kind of sad about it too, Adam. I was ready to say maybe 1 or 2, but I have no Aaron Jones going into this year.
Yeah, I know. I don't have any either. Yeah, take him in the GST this weekend.
Yeah. No, I'll take him with the 12th overall pick. 112.
No,
who says no?
Not bad. You got to get him at some point. You got to make sure you get him.
A 31-year-old running back. Nothing bad ever happens with those guys. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. Make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20 for 20% off. We'll see you same time here tomorrow.